Alright guys, today's the day we're going to reassemble this bad boy. But before we get into that, I wanted to show you a couple things. So I've cleaned up the base here, and I just wanted to flip it over and show you the other side. Trying to figure out the least awkward way to do this. Maybe if we zoom out. That's a better. So if we flip this thing over, leave the fuel filler up so we don't spill all over the table here. Flip this over. Actually cleaned up really nice on the bottom here. But anyway, so this is our central draft tube. And these convection kerosene heaters, it's basically just an over-glorified central draft, a really big central draft kerosene lamp. So circular wick. The wick sits around here. That's the top of your draft tube. That's where the air comes up through. So anyway, pretty simple there. And this thing, let me zoom back in now, is the electric igniter unit. Let's see if that thing works. So I've got the igniter unit here, and you can see it's just like a flashlight bulb, but it just has a little heater element instead of like a light bulb on the end of it. So this is really not an essential feature because it's just as easy to start this thing from a match or a lighter or whatever, but it's kind of nice to have electric start on it. So focus, camera, focus, there we go. So anyway, let's see if this thing works. Focus, camera, there we go. So how are we going to do this? I guess just like this. Not the easiest thing to pop in here without damaging the thing. If I can get in there with a little screwdriver or not. Don't lose it in the tank there. Come on, there we go. That should get the job done. There we are. So now, let's pop some good old D-cell batteries in here and see what happens. Crusty old battery compartment. I attempted to clean the corrosion off the contacts. We'll see what happens here. Pop this guy in here. There you go. Pop that guy in there. Come on. Come on. We're making contact. Let's see what happens here. Zoom back in here a little bit. And if we hit that, does it glow? Slightly. Whoops. Yeah, those contacts are really bad in the battery box there. Whoops. Come on. We had it for a second there. There it goes. I don't know if you can see that or not. Let me turn the lights off. Oh yeah, yeah. So that's our electric igniter. Yeah, I think that'll work for us. Okay, so alright, before we get into the reassembly of this thing, because I'm anal, I'm going to go ahead and flush the tank 2 more times just to make sure we got all the old crap out of it. So let me do that, and I will return. Well, for you it'll just be a second later. For me it'll be a little while yet. Alright, so here we go. ComfortGlow model GC19A, kerosene convection space heater, reassembly. Of course, in the previous videos we gave you an overview of this heater, which dates back to the 1980s, and we cleaned it up and we flushed the tank out. So now we're ready to reassemble the thing with a Kerosene all fiberglass new old stock replacement wick. This is probably dates to the 1990s, and as you can see, this is fiberglass on the top and on the bottom. Typically these kerosene heater wicks, this part is cotton, which can really become an issue if you get contamination of the fuel with water. The water gets sucked up into the cotton, blocks the flow of the kerosene to the top of the wick. And I guess the idea behind this all fiberglass wick is that's supposed to help alleviate that problem. But we're going to try our darndest to not get water mixed in with the fuel and just avoid the problem altogether. So there we go. So let's get going here. Before we can get into that part, let's reassemble the lower portion of the heater. Like I said, everything's cleaned up. Here's our bottom pan. Let's get that on here. See if I remember how the whole thing goes back together now. And it looks like that was back here. I think. So again, we try to find the least awkward way to do this with the camera rolling. I think that's going to be like this. Have to align the feet with the little tabs in the plate here. Looks like we're in. Yep, we're in. And now, where's that little dooflinkle? Got all my hardware in this little butter dish here. We need this guy. Where's the camera? There's the camera. We need that guy right there. He's going to go down here. Just hand tighten it down. And boom. That should secure the base on the heater. And I believe it do. Alright, next. I'll reattach our fuel filler cap. I guess that guy's just going to go in there like that. Ridiculously long Phillips head screwdriver. Let's turn the camera this way just a little bit. There we go. Loosen this guy up. And this guy's just going to hang in here. Just like that. Whoops. No, you got to stay in there. Little buddy. Stay in there. Don't over tighten. I'm a chronic over tightener. And ooh, I even over tightened the fuel cap. I think that'll work nicely. Get back on there. There it is. Okay. I think we're ready to start fiddling with this wick now. So there's a couple gotchas. We'll grab the wick guide unit here. That's this guy over here. Want to make sure that the control knob faces the same direction as this guy and these guys. So he's going to be down here like this. Maybe. Well. Like that. That's our wick guide unit. So now we need to install the wick. And I don't know if you can see or not. As you turn the knob, it raises these little holes in here. And that's what these tabs on this wick attach to. So the idea is to insert the wick through the bottom of the wick guide unit, and maybe we want to go this way. Okay, that took a little fiddling, but you can see we're in here. Our pins are in the holes inside. There's 3 of them. So now, the next thing we need to do is we need to get that down over the draft tube here. And we want to make sure that it doesn't fold up, because we want this entire thing to hang into the chamber with the kerosene in it in here. So let's see if we can get this guy to go down over this draft tube without hanging up. And I have fiberglass all over my hands now. It's itchy. Okay. Now we just wiggle this thing down over this draft tube, I guess. Looks like it's going to be finicky. Well, I need to spread this out a little bit. Come on, you. Get down in there. Come on. I need an implement. I don't know what that implement would be. Stay tuned. Now we're going on there. I think we're sliding in there now. Not folding up. I think. Tell you what. Let's see what happens if we... Ah, look at that. Uh-huh. We're gonna tip the trip switch, though, is the only thing. Okay. So the wick is in. We'll go ahead and tip the trip switch. Let's see if it'll lower now for us. So now we got to get this thing to raise and lower smoothly. So what we're going to do, make sure my camera's still. Let's zoom in a little bit here. Are we? Yeah, we're still rolling. Sorry. There we go. So I need to put the wing nuts on here. And then we got to make sure that this thing is going to raise and lower smoothly before we tighten the wing nuts all the way down. So, wing nuts. There's one. Here's two. Excuse me. That one doesn't want to go on there. Well, I'll put him over here then. We'll go on there. And here's three. See if he'll go on there. There we go. And four. So now we have the wick and the wick guide unit. The wick guide unit is loosely attached with the wing nuts. And now we need to make sure they're still loose here. And there's really not a whole lot of play in this thing. And again, we want to make sure that our control knob is on the same side as the igniter button. And set the tip switch. We need to make sure that this wick is going to operate smoothly, and feels like it's hanging up a little bit for us here. That's pretty smooth, so let's see what happens if we tighten the wing nuts down now. Yeah, let me take the camera off the tripod here for a second. I'll show you what's going on here. So what we're looking for is we want to make sure that there's even space around the wick, between the wick and the center draft tube, that it's not hanging up on anything. Seems to be operating pretty freely. I feel like it could come forward just a little bit. Hang on just a second here. Well, I accidentally clobbered my video when I put the camera back on the tripod, but that's okay. We'll just do the old splice and dice here. Anyway, I think we got this wick operating pretty reliably now. I went ahead and tightened down the wing nuts. Excuse me. They're all nice and snug. And show you how it operates here. Hit the set switch, crank the wick up, and then you can adjust your flame while it's burning. And it seems to operate really smoothly now. But what you want to make sure, this is a safety feature, if the heater is tipped while it's burning, that extinguishes it, and you want to just make sure that that wick goes all the way down when the tip switch is operated. And it seems to be operating pretty reliably. Yeah, I think we're good. And of course there's no fuel in there right now, so once there's kerosene in there, that should help it operate a little more smoothly, because technically kerosene is a lubricating oil anyway. More than it is a fuel, I guess, is how it's classified. So yeah, boom. Alright, so what's next? Keep going here. The next part is what they call the radiation plate. And no, we're not talking about nuclear radiation here. And this needs to go on here just like this. Little notch here for that. So make sure we put it on that direction. That's going to operate freely. We want to make sure that our wick is in the lowest position as we're reassembling the unit here. So now I need the 3 screws that hold the radiation plate on there. And that would be bim, bam, and boom right here. So now we're going to take our ridiculously long screwdriver and see if we can't get these screws back down in here. Whoops. They're little buggers. I'm going to use the, because I believe these are actually self-tappers. They are self-tapping screws, although they're very rusty. But shout out to YouTuber Fran from Fran Lab. We're going to use the Fran approved method of putting in self-tapping screws, which is you place it in the hole, and then you want to back it out until you hear a click. I think we heard a click. Well, this one's going to lock up for us. There's the click till it drops into place, and then turn it clockwise to tighten. The reason for that is that gets it lined up with the old threads. Otherwise, a self-tapping screw is going to attempt to create new threads. So By using Fran's method, we avoid that. Backwards, counterclockwise. Okay, it dropped into place. And we go forwards, clockwise to tighten. That's 2. And we are rolling, right? Yes, we're rolling. Here comes 3. Same method. We're going to back it out until it drops into place. There it is. We go forward. Whoops. This one's going to be a butt. There we go. Okay. And loosen them all. There's not really a whole lot of play in there. So I think we can tighten them all down now. And now, just give each of them a little torque. Don't over tighten. Like I said, I'm a chronic over tightener. And now, the radiation plate is in place. Make sure our wick still operates. I don't see why it wouldn't. Make sure our tip switch still operates. Yep. Next. So the next piece of the puzzle is going to be this guy right here. This is purely decorative. It has no hardware that holds it in. It just merely, these little notches line up with those. And it just sets down on there like that. Okay. Next. The next part is going to be the outer cylinder and the chimney unit, which has the catalytic combustor in it. I think I showed you this in a previous video, but this actually just sits down on there like that. And there's an outer chimney in it, but so the wick comes up inside of this thing and burns inside of this thing, and this works kind of like the catalytic converter on your car. I guess it's coated with some type of metal, like it's plated with some kind of metal. Yeah, I don't know the science behind it, but anyway, it cleans it makes the byproducts of the combustion process cleaner. Like it helps to more completely burn everything. Of course, we're going to be running the clean heat fuel in this thing, which is supposed to burn super clean anyway. So, but this thing makes even dirty old kerosene burn pretty clean. So that's the purpose of that. Anyway, that sits down inside the chimney, the outer chimney unit. This thing. Oops. And again, we want to make sure our window faces forward, along with the wick control knob and the igniter button. But that catalytic combustor thing hangs down inside of this chimney. So it needs to face forward along with the window. And Ta-da! So it's just going to hang down inside there like that. So, and then this whole thing sits down on top of here. These need to go over the outside of the tabs, just like that. Starting to look like a heater again. Get this lined up with all the tabs and make sure that's going to operate for us. Look at that. That's the way that's supposed to work. And now we just have 4. Oh, look at that. That's the rest of the hardware. 4 screws with these little falling apart washers on them. They're like insulators. I don't even know why we would have insulators on there. Or maybe they're supposed to function as like lock washers. I don't know, which they do because they're old and sticky. I actually had to pry them all off. They did not come off with the screws when I took the screws out. So there you go. So we'll just turn this around here and put all these screws and washers back in. Ooh. My belly is grumbling. Must be time to wrap this project up and go consume items. I actually really like this ridiculously long screwdriver. It's perfect. It's perfect for stuff like this. Ridiculously long screwdriver. What's going on here? Oh, that's just... I thought the washer was being weird, but I'm just seeing things. Actually, we shouldn't tighten this all the way yet. I learned this from my grandfather. When you're assembling things like this, you want to put all the screws in just loosely first. And then well, I'll show you here in a second. Put this guy in. Yeah, these washers are... What's going on here? I don't know. What do I know? I don't know. Just put them in here loosely. Yeah, they're not in real good condition either. Just, I'm using the Fran approved method of putting these screws in too. However, it doesn't matter because these are not self-tappers. These are just good old machine screws. So again, just put the screws in kind of loose, and then you just wiggle everything around, make sure it settles in place properly, and then you go back and tighten your screws and kind of go diagonal just to make sure everything settles in place properly. Just kind of alternate back and forth. Just kind of hand tight. Kind of hand tight. Make sure everything's lined up right. Make sure this thing's going to go up in here now. And it looks like it is. And it looks like it's okay. Make sure our tip switch still operates. Looks like it does. Okay. And lost track of what I was doing. Go around and just torque them all now. Not twerk, torque. You can twerk if you want. I don't care. What do I care? And just because I'm a chronic over-tightener, I'm going to go around and do them all one more time here. Hopefully that'll be okay. Now that one's good and tight there. That one's good and tight. That one's good and tight. That one's good and tight. Okay. So what's left? We're just about out of parts. I don't think I left anything behind, so that's a good thing. All that's left is the top cap now. And maybe, let's put it down on the floor now. Yeah, we'll bring her down here on the floor for this last step. Okay, so we have our little cap for the top, and I don't believe that it really matters what direction this thing goes on here. Don't think it matters. But anyway, these are the two holes where the handle attaches. And I think the handle goes through a couple of these little tabs on here. It looks to me like it's maybe that one. Maybe that one. I don't think it matters too much. Anyway, that's just going to sit down on top of there. And then our handle. Here's our handle. It's just going to go in here. Just kind of like this. Oops. There we go. Ta-da! That locks the cap on. And then the last piece of the puzzle will be putting the batteries back in and making sure the electric igniter works. And then we're going to fuel her up, It's recommended to wait. Of course, this has an empty tank right now. It's recommended with a new wick like this to wait for at least an hour for it to soak up the fuel. I'm probably just going to let the thing sit longer than that, just to make sure we don't have any issues. And then I will get back to you with another video of the first lighting of the new wick. Scintillating stuff. Thanks for watching.